Do you absolutely despise Battle Royale games? Do you just not like them that much? Are you just not interested in shooter games in general? Or are you just maybe purely interested in Smite and just don't want to play anything else? Then this video may or may not be for you. If you just really don't want to touch anything else, probably not. But if you just have the slightest of curiosity for something beyond that, then this video is for you. Today we're talking about why you may like Royale, and I would recommend you give it a shot even if you don't like Battle Royale games. If you're already watching my channel but are mostly here for Smite content, I will talk about stuff regarding that at the end of the video as well, so stick around for that if you like. But before that, we're gonna get into the reasons why I think you may like Royale even if you don't like Battle Royale games. First of all, just quickly mentioning this, as every other high-risk game, Royale is also free. You can download it from Steam, it's just a 5 GB download, so it's really not too much of going out of your way to try it. That's maybe important for some of you, obviously not the main reason, but I wanted to mention it briefly. But the main reasons are different ones. Now, some of you may know that I tried a lot of Battle Royale games already. I played PUBG and I really did not like that. I played Fortnite and it was okay-ish, but just not my style, and I didn't like the building aspect when everything is torn down immediately. And the only one that I found a little bit of joy in was Darwin Project, and that's gonna be important here, so I need to explain that a little bit. Darwin Project stands out from the other Royale games because it has a longer time to kill and it also has melee attacks, so you're not only focused on using that bow. The downside of Darwin Project is that the map is relatively small and really there's not that much variation in the game as everyone starts as the same character still, but it's still a very cool game, don't get me wrong. And that's kind of where Royale connects. It highlights the good aspects that Darwin Project has and adds to that. And that's why I think it can be very, very fun. I think that Royale is not a shooter in a traditional sense, and for me that is very, very important. I am just not a big fan of shooters. Now, if PUBG is the CSGO of Battle Royales, then Royale is much closer to Overwatch or, what a surprise, Paladins. But it goes even further than that. You not only have less of a focus on shooting through the abilities that you can use, you also have equipment along with that. So it's almost like you're pulling in a little bit of World of Warcraft-ish MMO type elements into a game here that is in its core a Battle Royale game. Much like in Darwin Project, the time to kill in Realm is slower than in other shooter or BR games. You don't get one shot unless you're playing against an assassin with an exception here, but normally you will have at least a somewhat drawn out fight, especially in the earlier stages of the game or when you have sufficient equipment. The abilities themselves are almost as if you're playing Smite. You have 3 different abilities, one of them being a mobility ability, and you have a passive. The only thing that you're missing is an ultimate. Instead, you have a legendary weapon. But not only that, the abilities that you have are also flexible and you can choose the ones that fit your playstyle. You can have self heals, you can have shielding abilities, or you can have damaging abilities. And as such, it's not even impossible to kill someone purely through abilities. You can kill someone with fireballs or with mines if you strategically play that way. As there are 4 abilities per class and they drop randomly, this also contributes to it not having the standard feeling of a BR is the same thing repeating itself over and over again. If you get a special legendary ability that you normally don't have, then you can consider switching your playstyle around for that ability, and that makes every round a little bit more different, aside of the fact that you can choose between the classes which all have different abilities. As of now, we have 5 different classes. We have the warrior, engineer, the mage, assassin, and the hunter, and while they are not perfectly balanced yet, they all bring something unique to the table, and you can kinda choose according to your playstyle. So obviously the first thing I picked was an assassin. But that doesn't mean that I'd be maining assassin now, because once again, you get a lot more variation and a lot more feeling of having a different game every time by just playing different classes and trying them all out. And I'm most certainly not alone with this feeling. Even some of the big Battle Royale streamers have said that they are kind of tired of how the genre is at the moment and that Royale really brings something new and refreshing to it. But it doesn't stop there. Let's look at, for example, the weapons. In most other Battle Royale games, you simply have guns, with the exception of Darwin Project once again. And playing with guns, yeah, it's fun for people who enjoy playing with guns. But if you're not the biggest fan of the standard sniping or shotgunning, then you have more options in Royale. One of the less abstract ones is just a mage staff that still fires projectiles, but they don't feel like a gun anymore. But there are also melee weapons. You start the game with a melee knife, which maybe isn't also surprising, but there are swords in the game, and the swords actually deal incredibly high amounts of damage because you have to get close to the enemy first. So if you combine that with a very mobile class like the warrior for example, then you can play purely around using melee weapons. Or again, when playing as the warrior, there's also the throwing axe. The throwing axe is technically a ranged weapon still because you're throwing an axe, but it feels much more like a melee or close range weapon because it's a short drop of projectile. If I have to compare it to anything from Smite, it maybe feels like a Sylvanas basic attack rather than an actual shot. Or, if you're familiar with paladins, there's also the potion launcher on the engineer as his legendary weapon, which is a huge AoE kind of gun, which again doesn't very much feel like your classic aim and shoot gun, but you can rather hit an area with it. So you most certainly don't need to be a sniping god to be good at Royale. On top of that, there's also no ammo looting, which I really enjoy because I despise running around to find the right ammo for my weapon. So by being able to spam your bullets without having to worry about that, that's another bonus for me. There is also the topic of hitboxes. A lot of people actually say that the hitboxes at the moment are too large, and I wouldn't disagree. But for somebody who's not enjoying shooters that much, it's actually great that the hitboxes are rather large, and I'm expecting them to stay towards the large end, as that way it's a lot more comfortable for people that aren't that deep into the shooter genre and just want to play a game. And then there's the whole forging armor and rarity aspect. I love collecting things in games, and I know a lot of people do because they commonly use practice to get people to play a game. But I think in this game in particular, that is very well executed. You find different rarities of weapons, but you also have armor. Armor gets added on top of your health by getting different armor pieces, and these armor pieces come with different levels of rarity. The lower ranks give a little bit less armor, the higher ranks give a little bit more. But not only that, the highest ranks, the epic and legendary, of the armor have additional benefits, and those benefits kind of remind me again more of something like World of Warcraft or maybe even Smite than a normal shooter game. Those benefits are things like mount speed, HP 5 or cooldown reduction. The only ones that are actually more typical of the shooter genre are weapon swap speed and reload speed. And the legendary weapons and armor pieces can be built at forges by breaking down other items or killing other players. You can use the shards that you get from that at the forges to craft other items, and yes, you do that every single game. As crafting takes a moment and is visible around the forge to other players, these areas are often highly contested. You will have people coming in trying to steal your legendary items that you're building, or just trying to fight you because they know that you are somewhere around. As such, the typical walking around for ages finding nothing fluff is significantly shortened down, and even if you're unlucky with weapons, you can get good ones this way. Apparently in the future, the legendary armor will also look visibly different, which is also a little cool gimmick here. While the disparity between low tier and high tier gear is arguably a little bit too high in some places, it makes for very interesting matches when you don't know how much more geared up than you the enemy is, and it also means that the race towards the end of the game is not only a race to get most kills, but also one to effectively craft items or get the right items from enemies. If you're not fully geared up by the end of the game, you will often just end up being cannon fodder unless you're very lucky. To add to all this, you also have different options in how you can approach the game because you know where the circle with the fog will close out to. Meaning that you can drop far away and just have less fights, or you can drop closer to it if you're looking for very early game fights to get better equipment. As such, and in conclusion, I think Royale is absolutely worth giving a try, even if you're coming from a background like Smite, like World of Warcraft, or neither of these games really, because it is just very fun, and once you give it a shot, it's very, very likely that you're gonna keep playing. Not only my personal experience, but also what the Steam charts here indicate, you can really see how this game has been spiking up over the past few days. People try it out and just keep playing. These are my reasons, I hope you give it a go, and if you're new to the channel, feel free to click the sub button and maybe the bell, it really helps me out, and I'm definitely gonna make more Royale content in the future. Now, if you are a long-time viewer of mine that is mainly here for Smite, this section is for you. I want to tell you a little bit about why this video was made and maybe the implications for Smite as well. Now, I've been talking for quite a while about trying out other games, that Smite just isn't changing that much at the moment anymore, and it's just hard to force myself to make content for it every single day. That is sometimes true, and sometimes I just have a lot of fun playing Smite all the time again, so it really shifts. But the reason why I wanted to make this video is because when I was talking about playing other games, I had quite a lot of different responses and reactions to that, mostly positive, some negative, but that's absolutely understandable. But one that stood out to me was somebody telling me that if I was to play another game, if I was to try out another game, that I should give them reasons why they should be interested in that game and why they might like it as well. And that's why I made this video. I think that it's very good to know why I am playing this game now and why I think it might be something that might be interesting for you, because otherwise I would probably not be playing it and not making videos about it. So as such, I hope this explains things a little better. Smite content on my channel isn't going anywhere. I will make Smite content as long as Smite is alive, because I enjoy the game a lot, and if I play other games, that does not mean that I'm completely gonna ditch Smite. I know that a lot of you are concerned about what Hydrus will do with Smite. I will talk about that in a separate video, I think, because I don't want to drag this video out too long. To very briefly summarize it, I don't think you should be too concerned about the future of Smite. I am very certain that the game will keep going for quite a while, if not grow through Royale. On the other hand, I obviously have no guarantee as I'm not working at Hydrus. If you sat through all of this and you're still absolutely not interested in Royale at all, but you want to keep playing Smite, all the power to you. There's gonna be some codes somewhere around here for Smite to make up for the time that you spend on this video. And with that, thank you guys very much for watching. Hope to see you all for the next one tomorrow. Again, if you're new to the channel, feel free to sub button with the bell, it really helps me out. DukeSloth, out.